All right. Looks like we're live. Guys, if you're watching the replay of this, just give me 1 second. We ended up having to make some audibles really quick, so I got to get it shared into the correct groups and pages. Share to a page. Share. All right. Hey, everybody. This is Adam Huber. We are not going to be having Shelly on today because she unfortunately had something come up very last minute and is very, very important for her to do. So she unfortunately is going to miss out on the wonderful mind and knowledge of Mr. Varley here of Varley. And I'm going to go ahead and say Varley Marketing. Cac and I have known each other for, I don't know, should we just say 2 years just to make it easy?
I think 2 or 3 years, something like that. Yeah.
2 or 3 years. And we came to know each other through another company that I used to work for and Cac did some work for. And we've kind of kept in touch over the years because Cac is one of those guys that I know knows what he's talking about when it comes to marketing, sales, automation systems, and everything like that. And I thought he would be a really valuable asset to have on to the podcast today. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go over your history. Like, how did you get into marketing? What are you doing? Oh, how did you get into what you're doing now? What are you focusing on now? All those kinds of things. So tell us a little bit about Cac Varley.
You bet. kPod.com. For anybody that wants to check it out, right? Thanks for having me on the show, Adam. I really appreciate it. I love your soul, my friend. You're a great person. You're a funny person. I love what you post on Facebook. It's great stuff. I love it.
Thank you.
And
this is sponsored by kPod.com, by the way. He's paid to say these nice things.
Yeah. So how I got into it? Well, let's start with 30 years of sales. So I was a sales guy. For 30 years, technical sales guy, right?
Selling just like technical products, softwares, like what?
Yep. I was doing data center networking work, all that kind of stuff. So technical in nature, which is really. The first introduction was Facebook, Google, something like that. And when I saw that going on, I was already in the technical space. I could see the future with that stuff right away. It was because I was in technology. I could see how this was going to happen. Right.
So sorry to interrupt and sorry to cut in so early, but what about Facebook, Google and stuff like that triggered you into knowing that it was going to be successful? Like what kind of data were you seeing?
Well, let's take Facebook, for instance. I mean, right out of the gate, I saw, people can connect like never before, right? Because it was email before. Hey, I'm going to send grandma's going to send Adam an email, and that's how you're going to communicate. Before it was phone. And then before that was, snail mail. And it's just, to me, was just a progression of things for people to be able to connect first and foremost and see what was going on in each other's lives. Think about that for a second. That's a massive change.
Yeah. Before all we had was like the yearly Christmas card to let people know of like what was going on in everyone's world, or you had to be in the same town or whatever in order for people to know what was going on with you.
That's right. That's right. So I saw that and I was like, yeah, that's going to be successful without a doubt. And of course, before that, I was already doing the MySpace. You're probably too young on MySpace, but
no, I was on MySpace. I was a techie kid, and still am. So
yeah, so and then Google was really what how that happened for me was that I owned my own small business. I had a copy scan shop here in Phoenix, and when we started the business up, we get the general, hey, the yellow pages would come out and say, hey, you need to list with us if you want to get business. It's kind of funny because it sounds like the mafia. You're gonna have to pay us rent to protect you.
Sounds like Yelp.
Hey man, I didn't say it. You did.
I'll say that all day. If you ever, I commented that in one of the groups. I said, if you ever want to see what the modern mafia looks like, just start advertising with Yelp.
Right. Exactly.
You can neither confirm nor deny. I won't put you in that rock and a hard place.
Right. And it was funny because these guys, a sales guy would show up and he'd say, you have to list with us. You're gonna have to do it. You don't have any other choices. Meanwhile, I was looking at Google, and back then they were doing advertising online, and I was actually kind of fiddling with it a little bit. and recognizing right out of the gate that you could advertise for a fraction of the cost.
Now, this is super early AdWords, right?
Super early.
Yep.
I don't even think it was called AdWords back then. I think it was just, I don't know what they called it, but it wasn't.
Google Pay Us. That's what it was called.
Yeah. Something like that. And I saw it and I go, the only thing that's missing here is people, right? People being online. But then I said, again, the people are going to be online. I could see it, right? Especially when you can just look anything up and find it. Are you crazy? That's no brainer. And so I saw the future then too. And I said, screw the yellow pages. I'm not doing that. You know, I'm going to go ahead and just advertise online. And back in those days, you could set up a website as well and just put a whole bunch of meta keywords on your front page and get people driven to your website. That's, of course, completely changed now. But, you know, we got a lot of action from people that would just look things up online, you know.
Okay. So
that's how I got into it, because, you know, I was a business owner. I was a small business owner, which means I had to do a whole bunch of stuff, right? I had to do payroll, taxes, employment, do the actual work sometimes, and then do the counting. And then, of course, I had to do all the marketing too. And as a small business, I didn't have a lot of money to throw around for magazine ads, you know, and things like that. That's another thing too, is when I looked at it, I said, you know, I'm going to build this ad on Google, right? And if it doesn't work, I'm going to know it. Mm-hmm. Like, it's going to tell me what's working and what's not. And I was like, you can't, like, if I put a magazine article, I don't know, unless I created a whole new number that was tracked, I would never know if I got a call from that magazine or a billboard or whatever, all, you know, just traditional marketing, right? And that's one thing I saw, and I said, wow, I'm going to know where my money is going. This is ridiculous. I'm
going to actually know if my costs are, you know,
right,
contributing to an ROI. I can actually figure out an ROI.
Yeah. And then there's this other thing too, which is, if it doesn't work, you can just revise it. How about that one? Think about this. You put an ad in a magazine, all right? And if you have a typo in there, you are screwed, right?
Yeah, what was like a usual contract back then? Like 6 months? Like you'd have to have just this ad in there for 6 months, or what did that look like?
No, it was usually, you know, they all operated differently in terms of publishers, but, you know, you'd basically be in an issue of the magazine, right? Well, that issue, when that issue is out there, it's out there. They can't pull it back and revise it if something's not right about it, right?
Gotcha. Yep.
And then to even know if it's working or not is another thing, because you're not standing right next to the person that's opening up the magazine and flipping to your ad to see what kind of reaction you're getting. You know what I mean? So that's the greatest thing about the digital world, is it gives you a lot of flexibility. It's I like to say very forgiving, because you can just revise.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If it doesn't work the first time, great. Do it again, different way. You know?
Yep. Yeah, and I'm a big fan of just like, get it out there, test, and then, you know, obviously you have to have some thought process going into it. You know, like, you can't, you know, go into it just totally willy-nilly. I mean, you could. You're just going to waste a lot of money that way.
Right.
But I mean, at the end of the day, you can have a pretty good idea of what's going to work, but a way better way to know whether or not something's working is by putting it out there, putting some money, just a little bit of money behind it. And if it's working, just keep throwing some gas on that fire and just see how far it takes you. Okay, so CAC is a part of like super early Facebook, Google advertising and everything like that. You're at a copy and print shop. Where do you go from there?
And then I started working for an agency as a salesperson.
Selling ad space?
No, just doing the digital marketing stuff, websites, you know, social media, and that's where you met me.
Okay.
Essentially, but I had been there for quite a bit of time before I actually met you, and so I learned all about it, you know, from the inside out kind of situation. And great people, but what I discovered is that some of my, let's put it this way, people were not, we were not retaining people or getting people, because I was a sales guy, 30 years of experience. I had a way of bringing in people, right?
Good looks, charm. That's what does it.
Right.
That's been my experience.
And man, I'll tell you, we just weren't retaining clients. I said, "There's not something is not right." Right, and those were just hunches. I had some hunches as to what was going wrong, and I went out on my own. And as it turns out, those hunches turned out to be true, and that's basically that. It's great if you see. The thing is that the technical world is filled with engineering minds, right? Techies, geeks, propeller heads, if you want to call them that, right? They know how to get all this stuff done, right? Automations, pushing buttons, numbers, all that stuff, right? But what they miss out on is the sales portion of that business. And that's what I discovered, because they might be a techie, but they haven't put their 10,000 hours of experience in sales like I have. So that's when I rolled in basically sales into digital marketing and packaged it up that way for my business.
Now, do you think that, you know, I don't want to get into like specifics or anything like that, but do you think that customer relations, as far as that's what you're saying, as far as like the sales part of it, that's not something that was being done well, and that's something that you do well, or that they were just way more concentrated on building something that looked pretty and not something that was actually working, and that's where sales needed to be integrated in?
Well, in this particular case, I mean, these guys were great. They're dynamos at creating things, websites and ads and what have you, dynamos. But it's the customer service side of the business that suffered. Yep.
So. Okay. Yeah, and I think that's, I mean, really, you can look at this as maybe not necessarily in exactly that case, in that company's case or whatever, but it's always interesting to me that there was actually a post in a group here a little while ago that there was a young startup kind of guy that has a buddy of his who owns a marketing company, and the marketing guy said, "Hey, listen, I'll do 20. I want 25% of your business, but I'll help. I'll do all the marketing for you, help you grow, and I'll put the money down for a new building because I'm telling you right now, you're going to need the new space and whatever." Well, it was surprising to me how many of those people were like, "No, don't ever take investment. Don't ever 25%. He's out of his mind just for doing marketing or whatever." I'm like, I don't know. I've seen how most of you guys post, and it sucks. Like, you guys, most businesses and most people suck at marketing, you know, because there's so many levels to it. There's just so much to it, and hopefully we get into a little bit of that conversation today.
Let's do that.
But what would be interesting is if that previous company had a real heart-to-heart with themselves and said, "You know what? Like, I think we kind of suck at customer service. What if we were to bring in someone that was awesome at customer service, customer relations, customer retention, and stuff like that? What would that do for our business?" And I think a lot of businesses out there should have an internal dialogue of, what the hell do I suck at? And how the hell do I get out of it as fast as possible so that I can create this nice foundation? HR, not good at HR. Like right here, me, no. I'm gonna have a sexual lawsuit filed against me in like no time because of jokes and everything like that. But accounting, I don't want to see a spreadsheet ever in my entire life unless it means like I'm going to look at that bottom right hand corner and say, all right, how much money is going in my bank account? That's I'm not going to do accounting. And I think a lot of people and a lot of businesses, that is something that they should maybe really take a good hard look at and say, you know what, like, this is not where my strong suit is. And I think that we would probably be a much stronger company, albeit maybe make less money by just offloading some of these things. Is that something that you would agree with or have thoughts on?
100%. And that comes from, there's books written about that. E-Myth. That's the one book I think of right away that you're basically describing that book, which is basically to scale your business, you're going to have other people that know what they're doing it. Right? That's just the way it goes. Now, I am a guy, I'm sort of an Abe Lincoln in the sense that I always like to learn myself, right?
Yep.
And do what I can to be as good as I can. So then as I hire people in, I know what's going on. And and if I need to develop, I can develop. You know what I mean?
I think you and I are pretty similar in that way, in that I don't necessarily want to do that work. I just want to know enough about it so that when I'm having a conversation with this person this is their area of expertise or specialty, I can at least not be a dum-dum and can think about how that needs to be positioned for our company, or, how, whatever that might work, right? Like, I don't want to go up to a marketing person and say, here's our company, like, there you go, like, and not have any direction whatsoever. Like, maybe offer a little bit of feedback on, I think this is what has been working for us and this is what I think might work. But however, I'm open to criticism, critiques, and, here's your, whatever, take it away from there. Or something that I've been doing a lot of recently is like video editing and video producing and working with creatives all over the world. That's something that I had to learn how to do. How do I create a shot list and everything like that? I don't need to be Steven Spielberg. Like, I don't need that. But what I do need to be able to do is be able to have a conversation with a creative and say, okay, this is the shot list that I need. This is the lengths and this is the equipment and everything like that. I need it shot in these ratio or resolutions and everything like that. And then the video editing part of it too. My personal opinion, and we'll get into this, is that I think video is going to become even more important down the road in 21, 22. And I think you're going to see a lot of companies that have an in-house micro video team, like a guy that knows how to shoot okay on a phone with a gimbal and stuff like that, and then a guy who can do okay at video editing. Well, if I don't have any idea what goes into the process of video editing, then the video that I might give that person could just be a steaming pile of junk. And then how am I supposed to expect him to be able to turn anything good out of that, right? So I like to dabble in those things, learn a little bit about them, get out as quick as I possibly can, and then let people who are actually really good at it just take over and let them do their thing.
Yeah, without a doubt. And in video, by the way, just as a side note there, I mean, you're 100% right. It's already there. I mean, I can tell you right now, I do tests on ads. If I do an image ad versus a video ad wins almost 100% of the time.
Yep. No surprise there for me.
Yeah. And by the way, you also, the audience should know that the platforms themselves are given preferential treatment for people that are doing video. Oh yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Oh yeah.
Wait, hold on a second. Let's go next level. Is there preferential treatment on these platforms for, like, let's just say, like, if you were to create a video on YouTube and it stays and lives on YouTube or in Facebook, like, Facebook is going to give preferential treatment to the Facebook video versus the YouTube video?
Oh yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Crazy. It would amaze you how many people think I'm crazy when I say that don't share YouTube link on Facebook. It's just they will chop your reach to nothingness. And they're like, oh, they won't. I'm like, okay, try it.
Yeah, because what people don't understand is that in that scenario, you're linking out of the platform. LinkedIn does it too. If you do a post and you're linking out of the platform, that's no bueno. The whole gig on social media is funny because it used to be an awareness play for everybody. Man, back in my band days, I could put up a post and thousands of people would see it. You know what I mean? It'd be awesome. But then eventually what they said is, well, number one, we got to figure out how to make money on this. So that was going to be through advertising. And then two, they didn't want people leaving upset because they were being fed content that they didn't really want. So that's when they went into the interest, like in Facebook's world, that's why they went into the interests categories, right? And so now it's all about engagement. And that's why I tell all my clients, they get surprised. They think that social media is an awareness play on an organic level. It's not. It's an engagement play now.
Yep.
And that's what they want. And the algorithms, and they basically followed suit with Google, right? Because Google said, back at, like we talked about earlier, and I said, well, you could easily put keywords on a home page and be ranked number one or on the first page. But after PhDs like figured out their algorithms, and Google was just done with it, and they said, here's the deal: it's going to be based on content, and not just content, but content in niches, right? So if you're a thought leader on a niche of a subject, they want to see, and these are what they had said, which is something like 16 posts on a subject a month. and or 401 posts already in the library.
Wow.
Yeah, to get preferential.
Wow.
So they're really, because they're an information company, right? So what they want to do is say, look, we're tired of these people tricking the system. We want people to we want information. We're Google. We want information. We want real information. So that's how they're doing it now to get SEO, on an organic level. And so Facebook ran into sort of the same problem where it was just a bunch of nonsense going on, and they didn't want people leaving. They want to grow that population. Every platform needs to grow their population.
Yep.
They don't want it reducing. So the moment Facebook saw something, people leaving and going, and this was back before Facebook bought Instagram, people were just jumping ship over Instagram. And then when they saw that, two things happened. One, they said, we got to change this up to make it more palatable for people. We're only going to serve up what people are interested in. So like you'll notice if you have a Facebook page, you could have thousands of followers and really 20 people see it or something like that.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Because those 20 people were only proved to have an interest in that thing that you just posted, right?
Yep.
And then the second thing that happened is Facebook bought Instagram. They're like, hey, you're okay, fine. You go over there, we'll just buy it.
Yep.
We'll buy you back.
One quick note on that. Since we're talking about Google a little bit, there's been some really interesting discussions about YouTube. And I know that this gets brought up all the time. And I know that for the large part, I don't think that the algorithms change a ton with YouTube. However, I noticed a really interesting shift with YouTube video recommendations for myself, and a lot of other people were bringing this up here a couple of weeks ago, which is that they were getting served videos that were very old, very, very old, like 4 or 5 years old. And the thought process there is now that YouTube has changed the algorithm just a little bit to give more preferential treatment to videos that have longer watched or more percentage of watch time all the way through than necessarily virality.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Because again, look at that situation. You could see how people could play that game, right? Of just getting their video in front of everybody, but nobody actually watches it.
Right.
So now they're looking at it and going, we can't have this stuff going on.
Yeah.
We got to make it right,
Yep. Maybe they were seeing a big increase in fake thumbnails and fake titles, clickbaity thumbnails and titles. And so you'd have a huge amount of people that would start watching the video. And then after 2 minutes, 90% of them would exit. Well, that's not a good experience for YouTube. That's not a good experience for the customer or whatever. And YouTube wants to keep you on there as long as possible, right? So
right.
If you can have, I'd be interested in what you think is a good percentage of people all the way through on a 10-minute video. Like, what do you think would be a good percentage of people to watch a 10-minute video all the way through?
Oh, well, that's a hard question to answer because you could look it up. You could create analytics that show you, right?
Yep.
And I almost want to reverse the question a little bit, reverse engineer what you're saying. For instance, you can put a video on Facebook and now you can track. So say you could track whether they've watched 25%, 50%, or 95%, or 75%, 95%, something like that. Or you can actually track how many seconds they've watched, right? The reason why you do that is because if you want to then run an ad on that, maybe a second video ad or something like that ties off to that what you just were presenting. Mm-hmm. You'd only want to take the 95% people, right? Because 100%. They showed true interest in what you offered there. Yep. They found it valuable. So you wouldn't want to waste your time with the people that watched 2 seconds because they clearly weren't interested enough. And so then you have what you're trying to, you're basically creating a funnel. Yep. That's all it is. These are marketing principles apply everywhere, right? And they apply here too, which is your funnel is on that situation is 95% are engaged, So now you're going to run an ad on them to get them to convert.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Yep.
So,
totally agree. All right. So one of the things that I wanted to pick your brain on so that I can, and that I think would be really valuable for a lot of the people watching is what are some things that you saw in 2020, companies, individuals, whatever it might be, that you think did marketing really, really well, and some things that you learned out of what those people did?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't tell you any specific names really, but I can tell you what's occurring, what seems to be working very well. And I put it into my own methodology, which I call G3, which is give, gather, get. It follows the funnel, right? Awareness, engagement, conversion is what it's following. And what I find is that the people that really know what they're doing, they follow that methodology. They give to the community first. They then get them engaged, and then they try to sell them something. It's a classic scenario. I mean, this has been going, you know, those are the people that know. And by the way, those people also have a plan. Mm-hmm. So I find that a lot of customers, and this is why I'm here as a consultant, right? They don't have a plan. They're not organized. They are, especially during this time with the COVID thing, you get a lot of scarcity mindsets out there, right? Where
let's pull back on our marketing.
Pull back, or even, but it goes the opposite way around, where it's like chase every shiny object I can to survive. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Which is equally detrimental as pulling money back from the marketing as well. You know what I mean? So that's, man, and that's the thing, is that when you see that give, gather, get methodology going on in front of you, you know that company has a plan and they're organized.
Yep.
You know, because not being organized, again, it causes just causes that shiny object syndrome. People all over the place, and they're not measuring things right. They're not taking analytics and finding out the truth. Because in marketing, there's a marketing principle, as I like to say. People don't want to think, they want to feel. Mm-hmm. So when you're making good copy and you're making good advertising, that's what it's all about. Don't make them think, make them feel, right? However, on the other side of that, the flip side of that is when you're running your own organization, you kind of have to take the feelings out. You do. Because you have to look at the numbers, because the numbers are going to tell you the truth. They're going to tell you if you suck or if you did all right. Mm-hmm. You know, so that's what I see being successful, is people having a plan. And, you know, people are coming to me for that kind of work, which is great. Admitting it, number one, is a great start. Admitting you have a problem is a great start, right? And then having the ability to learn. So there's another portion of it, another piece of my methodology called L3, which is look, listen, learn, which I know you do, because we talk about it all the time, about the things you learn. And then what you're doing is you're taking all that information and you're applying it back to the G3, right? The give, gather, get, to make that better. So it's this constant cycle. I like to say that the G3 is an 80% category of action. Get out there, do it. You know, you'll have people that'll spend thousands of dollars on education, right? But they won't spend $100 on a Facebook ad.
Yeah, you know what I mean? But now what I would like to ask you is, how many people do you think are actually able to, so let's just say, like, say somebody comes up to you and says, I want to spend $5,000 on going to this training course on whatever, let's just say something marketing wise, you know, whatever. And then you say, how about this? How about you go and spend $500 on these ads or whatever, and then you learn from it? How many people do you think actually have the ability to be able to take anything that is presented in front of them, break it down and say, okay, this didn't work, this did work, this is what I need to change, and this is the adjustments I need to make in order for, and then let's do it again, and then let's do it again? Because to me, that's not very common.
No, it's not common, and I'll tell you why. And this is why I have the 80-20 rule. The 80-20 rule is the 80% is your action category. The 20% is the L3, right? It's the look, listen, and learn. The reason why I set that up like that is so that people understand you can't just continue to consume things and think things are going to happen for you. And I know people, trust me, I know people that are 80% consumption in their life. And they just won't barely take action on something, right? And I believe wholeheartedly that's based on fear. Mm-hmm. Fear, insecurity, scarcity. They don't want to take the chances of something not working. So they're going to educate themselves up the wazoo, right? So they can secure success. Guess what? Anybody who's gone to college knows that you ain't coming out of college without learning something even more, because you're going to fail a lot. Yep. That's just the bottom line of that. You're going to fail a lot. That's the way it goes. Yeah. So people have to change from, and it's worse now because it's, you know, we got the COVID thing. So now what are people doing, right? Consuming stuff, right? Because they can't leave their house or something like that. But I encourage people to do, then learn, do, and learn, right?
Yep.
Like I said, the digital world is very forgiving with this sort of stuff. And in fact, it's pretty awesome when you think about how great it is, how you can just change the direction, change a word, change a phrasing, change an image, put a logo on an image. You could just go nuts. And people, UX people, user experience people, I mean, that's their whole job, where they go onto websites and they basically change the button color.
Yep.
CTA button color to see if it drives more traffic against the other. They do all this split testing to figure out what's going on. You know what I mean? To make it the best it can be. But that's happening. That's happening in real time. What I tell people is get 80% there, because there's a lot of people that are like, oh no, it's got to be perfect. Oh, you know, I can't. Oh, I can't. No, it can't be released right now. I'll talk to people about video, like we just talked about, and they're like, well, I have to get these lights. I'm like, no, you have a phone. You can do it right from your phone.
Yep.
And by the way, those sometimes get better results than highly produced videos because it's more real. Mm-hmm. And right now, especially when you're talking about this need for connection that is happening through this virus, it's even more important to be more real. Look, I'm out in my garage. I call it the Garage Mahal, by the way. I didn't call it that. My neighbor did, because I got a couch, TV, refrigerator, everything. So I do all my work.
Man cave.
Yeah. Well, I'm originally from Wisconsin, so we had the basements for the rec room. You know, this is my rec room now, right?
Yep.
But I forgot what I was saying. What was I saying?
You were just dropping wisdom bombs as
I mean, usual. Like, look, I'm in the garage doing this with you. I'm not wearing a suit. You know, I got my headphones on. I'm in the garage doing this thing with you. I mean, but I bet you people appreciate that more than if I got this. You know, I see these people with the nice backdrops now on their Zoom and stuff like that, and they get all gussied up, and they got the light and get the ring light and makeup out and everything. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know if that's really, I don't know.
So I would be interested to get your take on, 21 is coming up. Obviously, we're in November already, and people probably should have been thinking about their strategy going into the next year. But what do you think are some things that they should be definitely considering doing in 21? Maybe some social medias or some different strategies or whatever that they should be thinking. And I know you probably, like me, you don't really necessarily try to focus heavily on strategy. Let's just get a game plan together. Let's get out there, try it, test, and then let's check it after 3 months and see what we're getting out of it, and then go from there. But what are some things that you think people should know about going into 21 that should be on their discussion boards?
Yeah, so world has changed. We're online more than ever before, right? And so now people are going to be communicating online. To me, I think in 2021, people really have to take a good hard look at their digital world and get it cleaned up. Just like if you're going to clean your house before people came over. Same thing. That's what I tell my clients. I clean your house. That's what I do. I clean your house. I come in, I look at what you got going on. holistically. Make sure that everybody understands who you are, no matter where they land, and what you do, and why they're there. That's another one people forget. And I would say that's kind of a good one right there. I just happened upon, which is know your why. Why are you in business? And the answer isn't, I want to make money. Everybody knows that. Know your why. Know your why. I would sit back and I would figure out, know your why, and then I would get your house clean. If you need it clean, get your house clean, get it ready, because there's a lot of stuff that can occur organically through this thing called sweat equity, where you don't have to spend a dime on advertising, right? There's a lot of stuff. There's a long laundry list. That's how I work with my clients. I start with them. I got a whiteboard here I'm looking at. I start with all my clients by just starting from on an organic level. Rarely will I take a client on unless they've got everything set up well. Will I take them on as a advertising client, for instance? I always start at the organic level, get everything straightened out. Because if you look at the funnel, right, you can do all the awareness you want through ads, but if you're then bringing them to an unclean house,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and they're not going to convert, right? And if they're not going to convert, well, that money you just spent on bringing them into your house is wasted, right? That's the whole thing. Is that I take almost a reverse methodology where it's like, everybody wants to start an awareness and get into the gauge and convert and all the way down to your advocacy piece, right? But I take a reverse step. I look at, where are people going to convert, right? And then work on the engagement and then work on the awareness after that. So that everything falls in line with each other.
Got it. So you're thinking about, your why and everything. The reason I'm guessing the reason why you're spending time on the why and everything like that is so you can figure out exactly who they should be targeting in the first place. Then, okay, what does that final step look like for these people that take all the time and hassle and energy to go through all of your steps, hoops, and they've clicked all the buttons and everything? What does this final page have to say to them in order for them to say, you know what? Yep, that's exactly what I want. And whatever call to action it is that you want out of them, because that's your why behind everything that you do. What does this got to look like? And then to me, it seems like getting awareness in something is actually, man, I hope I'm not going to step too far out of line here, but it's actually really not that difficult. Like, just give a budget of whatever,
right,
whatever that might be. If I need to get clarity code in front of 1 million people, well, then
easy.
Just, okay, fine. I'll get it in front of 1 million people, but why are we doing it?
Right. Well, but more importantly, why are they doing it, right? And that's what people miss, is that I have this line that I say all the time. There is what we want to sell, and there is what people want to be sold, right? And when you get into the category of what people want to be sold, your whole copy, your content changes towards the audience that you're looking for, right? That's what it's all about.
Can I tell you a personal little story here for just 1 second? It'll take like 1 minute, but
sure.
I was just on the phone with my business partner, Justin, and we were discussing how the particular group of people that we're going after are very old school. They want in person, like they want to see, touch, feel everything. There's a growing class of people in that group that are digital and are okay with digital, but for a large part, we're dealing with guys who are very first world, very first person type of situation. So we were actually just spitballing ideas back and forth about doing like an in-person event. I said, okay, let's draw the scenario out. I said, let's say that we have 2 events on the eastern seaboard of the US. Okay. Why would someone pay $1,000 to come see a product that they knew nothing about, they don't want, and they don't even know why they need it?
Right.
Why do I want that? Why am I going to spend $1,000? And he goes, well, because it's cool.
Because we want to sell something.
Yeah. And I was like,
exactly.
Doesn't work. I was like, what do we got to do? So what we ended up coming up with, and if this is something that could help someone, great. But what I ended up saying is, how about we do this? How about we contact SADA, Dan-Am, BASF, some of these really large, big players in this space, ask them if there's any new products or accessories or tools or anything like that that these guys have come out with, and ask them, hey, what would you think about us now putting on a training for this new, as an example, there's this thing called a pressure pot system. Could drastically cut down the time that it takes to paint a car. Just paint a car. Doesn't have to be clarity code, just paint a car. Well, now the whole value changes when we say, we're going to put on a training. We're not going to charge you SADA anything for this new system, but we're going to show it we're going to have trainings on the 2 locations, Eastern Seaboard. You send out the email blast. We'll do our part as well, saying, how would you like to cut your time in half just by simply implementing a new tool that that now you're going to get back $1,000 to $5,000 each month just in time wasted. And oh, by the way, we'll also have this guest speaker. And oh, by the way, we'll also have this other little product. You've never heard of it. It's kind of a weird thing called the Clarity Coat. Like, it'll just be an auxiliary to your business, right? You can make an extra couple grand a month off of it. No big deal. I said, now that's it. Now I will pay $1,000 to go somewhere, get trained on, or see this new tool that's going to save me $5,000 a month. Why would, like, I'm much more interested in that conversation than paying $1,000 to fly somewhere, spending another couple grand on a startup kit on a product that I didn't know about, product I didn't know that I wanted, needed, or who am I going to sell it to. It changes the whole conversation. The reason why I was smiling and grinning is because what you were just talking about seems like it just fell right into my lap there as a perfect example.
Yeah, it's a great example. Like, because you said, how would you like to save, or how would you like to save time? How would you like to save money? That's the copy I'm talking about, Yep. That works out really well. Yeah, that's good stuff. I love it.
Yeah. Justin, fly to Russia. They've got these really cool knick-knack dolls.
Right. Hey,
it's cool.
Here's an exercise. This will be I'll give you a little exercise for your audience.
Please.
Because this is an exercise I do with my clients. And I have to tell you that it is very difficult for them to do this exercise sometimes.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to get my notebook here.
Yeah. And so I'm going to tee this up to you, because when we usually again, remember what I said? People don't want to think, they want to feel.
Yep.
Right? We tend to think, especially if we're engineers, technology people, whatever the case may be, we think logically, right? If I do this, I save that. If I do that, I save this, whatever the case may be. And that's great. In the copy, that's great for the benefits. So if there's a tool that I have called, almost every marketer has done this before. It's called benefit analysis tool. Where you'll call it the benefits, but then what you're really looking for, and this is the exercise, is the outcome. So anybody who has a business right now, the exercise is, what is your bold promise? Meaning, what is your customer's outcome after they've witnessed, bought, or gotten serviced with your solution?
I'm writing this down. Sorry.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, people sometimes have, because they'll get in a logic space. Well, they want to they want to save time. Yeah, no, but that's great. That's a benefit. Yes, we definitely want to exemplify that they're going to save time, and we'll probably say to save money, and all that stuff. But how are they going to feel when they're done with you, when they've experienced your service or product? Are they going
to feel used and dirty, or are they going to feel enlightened and like a fresh bath?
And it's not an easy one to answer, because you have to take yourself out of the logical mindset, and you have to get into the emotional mindset.
Yep. You have to turn from technician, E-Myth, to almost kind of like an artist, like kind of. You have to start bringing in. You have to put yourself in other people's shoes, and you have to know what those people's problems are and the solution that they're trying to go after and everything like that. And it wasn't actually until I got into like some of these auto body Facebook groups and stuff like that, that actually, the problem that I thought they had wasn't even remotely close to what I think actually their top 2-3 problems are. I don't mean to make this about Clarity Code. I'm just saying, like, I agree with you that it should be difficult to do. If it was easy, then everyone would just be selling all sorts of stuff everywhere, and that's just not the way it is, right? What are people's? I always ask people, okay, well, what's their 3 pain points? What you're trying to sell it to a person. We had a gal on this Marketing Monday here a couple of weeks ago. She sells clothing, but it's highly well made clothing that is meant to be used in a multiple different ways. You can dress it up, you can dress it down. So the whole point behind, sorry, what's that?
Multi-purpose.
Yeah, it's multi-purpose. And the whole point behind that is to cut down on the amount of items of clothing you're buying to then help out the environment. It's all sustainably sourced and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know if she'd ever thought of this, but in the podcast, if anybody wants to check it out, you can look at, it was a couple of weeks ago. I forget the actual gal's business name, and I apologize. But one of the things I brought up, I was like, this seems like something that like a lot of guys would really care about. Most guys that I know, above 70%, just don't give a rip about what they're wearing. They just don't. They just want to reach into the closet, grab something, look at semi-decent. And in fact, if I was like, I'm this close to just cutting down my wardrobe to like 12 or 14 white gray t-shirts and like 12 pairs of pants, done. And like, that's it. That's my wardrobe, because I just get so sick and tired of like, oh, well, what am I going to wear today? You know, that type of thing. I was like, have you ever thought about going after guys? And she didn't really say yes, no, or, whatever, but it was like, I was picking up on that. It seemed like she was going much more after women because, women love clothes. I said, well, that's great. But what's a woman's pain point when it comes to buying clothes? Like, what are their pain points? I can tell you the 3 pain points for most guys that I know. And that's it right there. If you told me that I had to spend $2,500 right now and I'd have a wardrobe that I can look equally good dressed up as I do dressed down, and that's all I had to spend for the next 5 to 7 years, I'll write the check right now. Like, done. I will slide my card. Thank you. Thank you. Come again in 5 to 7 years. So anyways, I just think that is a really great exercise. What's the actual pain points? What problem are you solving for that actual customer or customers?
Yeah, I mean, there's another thought too. If you want to get into the objection piece of this, right? You would look at the internal fear of your audience, the external fear of your audience, and basically the vehicle fear of your audience. So internal fear would be like, oh, I'm not smart enough, right? And external fear would be like, I don't have enough money. And a vehicle fear would be like, yeah, I've seen this kind of solution before. It didn't work. I mean, it didn't work. Yeah. Right. So that's a really easy way to figure out what your objections are from your audience and address them, because then you flip that into positive, right?
Real quick, in the last 12 minutes, I want to get your take on TikTok for 21.
Yeah, it's going to be around. It's like Snapchat. It's going to be around. The problem with me is that my crew of clients, I don't have a lot of use for it. And the reason why is because 30 seconds, man, how am I going to bring value? My videos that I have, and people can look them up on my website and wherever they go.
Varley.com.
Yeah. 2 5 minutes. I'm doing a podcast right now that I'm, just racking them up right now. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, something like that. It's hard. I put some, I have a TikTok. So I started putting some stuff on there, but it is so hard to get value in, because what I want to do is, I'm doing the give, right? My organic is I do the give and I get free information for people, right? And so to do that stuff in 30 seconds, it's hard. It's kind of like Twitter. to me, it's the video version of Twitter in the sense that it's just so short. You can't really get a lot done. It's not, people are, and it's funny because, I look at Twitter and it's been such a challenge over the years on an engagement level. And, Twitter wants engagement too. And yet, how are you doing that at 124 characters? I don't, it's just almost impossible when people are just rolling through that stuff. And so that's why I think Instagram is so successful, because it's a still, you're a still picture or a video, and it's right there. It's there. It's not, you can breeze through stuff, but it's a little bit harder to just go from one to the other, right?
Yep.
And so I know it's an amplification solution. If you're a big company and you want that sort of, especially if you're on the brand side of things, it's great for branding, because you're going to want your name out on every dang platform you can imagine. But, I wouldn't expend it. For branding, okay, you'll get results on just branding, people recognizing the name.
Awareness.
I don't see it being something right now. It could always change, because maybe somewhere down the line, TikTok says, well, now we're going to allow 5-minute videos or something like that. And that's going to be a game changer at that point, right?
Yep.
And that's if nobody else buys them again, right? So, but yeah, it's interesting. I think that I look at my business and how I bring value to my audience, and it's just impossible to do it via TikTok. I did some 30-second videos, and they're really short. Yeah, I can get some things done, but if I really want to get in some details about things, because it's one thing to say, hey, you've got a problem and fix it. But it's another thing to say, hey, here's the problem. Here's how to fix it, right? It's pretty much impossible to do in 30 seconds.
So something I don't want to say challenge, but the way that I think would be a good way to look at it moving forward, or just as a way for it to maybe possibly work for you or anyone else that's on here, is there are certain businesses, there's certain pieces of content that you can do in a minute and it will be wildly successful. There's a certain video style of shooting that even before I started doing video editing and everything like that, I was aware of it, and it tells a great story in a very short period of time. It's very boom, 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 boom. You have to be very intentional about the way you shoot things in order for that to work. Mm-hmm. And there's certain industries in which that works really well. I can do it with detailing. It's harder, but it just squeezes into that 1 minute mark where I can effectively do something in 1 minute doing this style of video shooting. Clothing, easily done in 1 minute. No issues there whatsoever. Mm-hmm. But for people in your in marketing, in finance, and stuff like that, there's because I've had lots of discussions with people about TikTok, and a lot of times I tell them, I say, listen, I could give a rip less about TikTok, but what you need to understand is why TikTok, in my opinion, blew up the way that it did, and why it will be important, even if it goes away. Because same way with Snapchat. Snapchat blew up, challenged the status quo, and then forced a change in the status quo.
Yeah, it did.
Here is where I think people are not realizing the power of TikTok is all in the algorithm and all in how easily it was shared outside of the platform, which is an exact opposite of what we were just talking about earlier.
Right.
If you go on TikTok and you hit that share button, there is a multitude of ways to share that thing, and then somebody can now watch that content without having to necessarily sign up for a TikTok account. They can just watch the video. But more importantly, TikTok here, I don't know, 6 months ago or so, added a nice little feature where it has a drop-down menu for your Instagram and your YouTube. So what I have seen done, and what would be the way that I would do it in an area like yours or finance, where it takes more explanation, is you almost have like a highlight reel of boom, 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 boom. Here's the top 5 things that you're struggling with in marketing. By the way, if you need to get more in depth on this, click on the YouTube video in the link or in the bio and go there. Now there's no denying the virality and everything like that with TikTok. Like it gets lots and lots of views insanely fast. And I'll get to that in just 1 second. So, but I would just use it as a vehicle to get it to website and or YouTube where more explanation, better explanation can be done, because you're right. It's almost impossible to do it in 200 characters or in a 1-minute video. The thing that I have seen out of TikTok, though, as far as like the algorithm goes, I do think will be status quo breaking. There is a way that the algorithm for TikTok works that I've never seen ever before, where I've purposely done this a couple of times now, where TikTok feeds you a bunch of videos that it thinks that you want to watch, right? There's nothing new there. Instagram, Facebook, everybody does this. However, I have purposely gone in and just started liking and sharing video content that had nothing to do with anything that I was watching before. Like my feed is full of like cars and stuff like that right now, right? I've gone in and started liking and sharing knitting videos. And within hours, my whole For You page completely changed to just like knitting, and that's it. So it's almost like the speed at which it makes those algorithm changes and it starts serving you up different content, I do think is something that Facebook, Instagram, and I'll just say YouTube will look at and say, well, shit, okay, how do we implement something like that? Because it takes forever for an algorithm change to happen on Instagram or Facebook, like multiple days of actions that you have to take in order for you to finally get a full experience change. Whereas on TikTok, it just happens in like a couple of hours. But anyways, I didn't mean to sit here and give a fucking TED talk on TikTok. Wow, that's trying to say that 3 times fast. TED Talk, TikTok.
Well, it just goes to show that, you know, that's a great example right there, where it's like, it just goes to show every platform has its thing. It has its community. It has the way that you have to be in front of that community. And so, you know, part of your challenge is, you know, where is like, what do you put on there that's going to be good for that platform, you know? And that's the $100,000 question or something like that. Yeah.
All right. CAC, in the last couple of minutes of the show, we always hand it off to our guest and ask them, what would you like people on here to do for you, and or how can we help you at all? What is something that we can do for you?
Well, I have a give, and it goes like this. If you go to, and I'll make this really simple, askcac.com. Okay, so askcac.com. If you want me to do an assessment of your digital world, just fill out that 5-question form there, and I'll send you back a video in an email doing that review.
I'm gonna put her on the ticker. Boom. Go to askcac.com for a free.
That's right. That's right.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What socials are you on? Where are you at other than cacvarley.com and askcac.com? Where else can people find you?
TikTok. I am on TikTok.
Go give them a follow.
So yeah, you can look up CAC Varley. I've pretty much, as I like to say, owned the neighborhood there. So any platform that you're on, you can find me at CAC Varley. Just search CAC Varley and I'll come up. Pinterest. I mean, Google My Business. Google My Business, by the way, is another little tip for your audience out there. If you're posting through Google My Business, Google is giving you preferential treatment on SEO.
Yeah, just like Google Plus back in the day.
That's exactly it. That's all they did, is they got rid of Google Plus and they did the same thing for Google My Business.
Yep. All right.
Yeah, you can find me everywhere: Facebook, Instagram, all that jazz. Snapchat. I'm on Snapchat too.
Keep track of videos through TED Talk or YouTube. You don't just watch random videos there because it's a serious time commitment. All right. Well, thanks, Amanda. Appreciate you backing me up. That's what I needed in this world, was a backup.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, if you could do me a favor, I've had many a chat with CAC, and I have been blessed to know him for the last couple of years. If you own a business, do please just reach out to him. He is not like your typical hardline salesman. He just isn't. He's a very kind, loving soul. And, you know, at worst, you get a 5 to 10 minute long video of him tearing down everything that you're doing and saying you're crap at it, but hey, I'm pretty good at it, so you should hire me because I know what I'm doing. But you get to see his beautiful, beautiful mug on there.
Oh,
so, so go check him out. Go follow him. He does give a lot of great advice, and I do appreciate him dearly as a confidant in the same arena that we are in. So thanks for coming on, Cac. I hope you have a great rest of the day.
Yeah, awesome.
All right, guys. That will conclude today's show. Hopefully next week, Shelly and I will both be on here. We're going to be interviewing a guy named Caleb, who is a local business owner, fellow entrepreneur that I know and met and have gotten to know, and he has a pretty awesome story. So if you guys are interested in that, tune in next week, Monday, 12:30 Central, and we will see you guys then.